There's a place where the mist hangs heavy and the trees stand shrouded in mystery. It's called St. Jude's Abandoned Church, and it's rumored to hold secrets that defy explanation. Now, I'm no stranger to the paranormal, but when I stepped foot into that church, I knew I was in for something truly terrifying. The story of St. John's Church is one steeped in legend. Locals speak of a darkness that lurks within its crumbling walls, a darkness that preys on the living, feeding on their deepest fears and stealing their most precious memories. It's a chilling tale, and one that I couldn't help but dismiss as superstition. That was until I saw it for myself. The moment I crossed the threshold, I felt a shift in the atmosphere. It was as if the very air grew heavy, pressing down on me with an oppressive weight. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant whisper of the wind outside. As my eyes adjusted to the dim light filtering through the stained glass windows, I began to make out the figures standing before me. Some were kneeling in prayer, others seemed lost in contemplation, but all of them had one thing in common. Their faces were devoid of any emotion, their eyes vacant and staring. I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. Fear, raw and primal, gripped me. What was it about these figures that filled me with such dread? Why did their presence evoke a terror that went beyond the confines of this abandoned church? As I stood there frozen in place, I felt a cold hand brush against my shoulder. I whirled around, but there was no one there. Yet the touch lingered, icy and real. I forced myself to turn back, desperate to escape the suffocating atmosphere. But as I did, my eyes caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of my vision. I spun around once more, and that's when I saw her. She stood in the shadows, her form indistinct and wavering like a mirage. As she stepped into the dim light, I saw that she was young, no older than a girl of 16 or 17. Her hair was long and flowing, her face pale and delicate, but it was her eyes that held me captive. They were pools of darkness, bottomless and profound, and they seemed to beckon me closer. Drawn to her like a moth to a flame, I began to walk towards her. My feet moved without my conscious direction, my body responding to some unseen force. As I drew nearer, I could hear her voice, a soft whisper that seemed to resonate within my bones. "Come," she murmured, "come with me." I wanted to resist, to break free from the spell that was holding me. But the closer I got, the more her voice echoed in my mind, pulling me inexorably towards her. And then she spoke again, her voice a silken thread, weaving its way into my thoughts. "Don't be afraid," she whispered. "I won't hurt you." But her words did little to quell the turmoil within me. I could feel my own fear, palpable and thick, coiling around my heart and constricting my breath. My mind screamed at me to stop, to turn back and flee from this place of shadows and whispers. But my body wouldn't listen. It moved forward, compelled by an unseen force, and as I closed in on the girl, I saw that she wasn't alone. Behind her, emerging from the gloom, were other figures, their faces obscured by the darkness, their eyes gleaming with an eerie light. I wanted to scream, to shatter the silence with my terror, but no sound escaped my lips. Frozen in place, I watched as they advanced, their movements slow and deliberate, their gazes fixed on me. I felt a chill crawl down my spine, seeping into my very core. What were these creatures? Why were they here? And what did they want from me? As they drew closer, I could hear their voices, or rather their whispers, for that's what they sounded like, a chorus of whispers weaving together to form a tapestry of sound. They spoke of things I couldn't understand, words that twisted and turned in ways that defied comprehension. Yet there was something about their whispers that resonated deep within me, stirring memories that I couldn't quite grasp. The girl in front stepped forward, and for a moment I saw a flicker of recognition cross her face. It was gone in an instant, but in that brief moment, I could have sworn she was reaching out to me, trying to connect, trying to communicate. But before I could decipher the meaning of her gesture, she vanished. One moment she was there, and the next she was gone, leaving me in the midst of an unsettling tableau of whispers and shadows. As the whispers reached a crescendo, I could feel my resolve crumbling. The grip of fear tightened around my heart, squeezing the breath from my lungs. I stumbled back, desperate to put distance between myself and the unsettling scene before me. But it was too late. They were upon me, their whispers enveloping me like a shroud, their presence seeping into my skin and freezing me in place. I wanted to fight, to scream, to break free. But the more I struggled, the deeper their grasp became. It was as if they were pulling me towards them, inviting me into the darkness, promising secrets that lay hidden just beyond my perception. And in that moment, I knew I had no choice. I had to follow. As I descended into the darkness, I could feel the whispers growing louder, morphing into a cacophony of voices, each vying for my attention, each tugging at my sanity. I tried to shut them out, to block them from my mind, but it was futile. They were relentless, seeping into my thoughts, becoming my thoughts. I felt myself slipping, my consciousness fracturing like a shattered mirror. Then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The whispers ceased, the voices faded, and I was left in an unnerving silence. Frozen in place, I waited, my senses on high alert, for whatever came next. When I finally turned to go, I realized I was no longer in the church. I found myself in a place that defied description, a realm of perpetual twilight where shadows danced in silent ballet. Before me stretched a landscape that was both familiar and strange. Distant mountains pierced the sky, and below me a winding river snaked through a valley. But there was something off, as if I were looking through a veil, seeing the world as it might have looked in a dream. Then I heard a voice, soft and lilting, echoing in my mind, as if carried on the wind. "Welcome home," it said. "You are among friends now." As I turned to locate the source of the voice, I saw her standing there, the girl from the church. She was closer now, and I could see the sadness etched on her face, the weariness in her eyes. She didn't seem like a creature of darkness anymore, but a girl trapped in a nightmare. And then I understood. This place, this moment, it was all a test. The church, the whispers, the darkness, they were all part of a labyrinth designed to lead me here. But why? And what was I supposed to do now? The girl spoke again, her voice tinged with urgency. "You must help me," she said. "I need your help." And in that plea, I saw my purpose. I was here for a reason, and it was up to me to uncover it. So I ask you, dear viewer, what would you do in such a situation? How would you respond to the plea of a mysterious girl trapped in a twilight world? Would you heed her call for help, or seek to unravel the enigma of this place? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss. It's important to remember that this story is entirely fictional. However, it serves as a reminder of the unsettling aspects of the unknown that humans have always feared throughout history. Stories of lurking shadows and whispering voices have captured our imagination and instilled fear in our hearts. These tales serve as cautionary reminders, urging us to tread carefully in the unseen realms that exist just beyond our perception. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and stay updated on our latest releases. And if you want to,